And welcome to Cover 2 TV. It's been a couple of weeks since the Super Bowl. We've all calmed down and we're here to give you our quarterback predictions for 2018. Where will each quarterback land? That's what everybody's talking about. And Tom Jennings over there has some ideas. And we are going to talk through those ideas today. So we'll start with the AFC North. Pretty boring to start with. Pittsburgh Steelers. Tom believes that Roethlisberger is going to be exactly where
Bit
he's
of a stretch, that one.
Flacco to stay in Baltimore. And then, controversial, some might say, with McCarron being the backup, but Andy Dalton to stay in Cincinnati.
Yeah, basically, Marvin Lewis doesn't try and win. He likes to keep the most mediocre quarterback there is, and Andy Dalton, they're not going to move from him. They don't take risks.
No, he's right. And I say AJ McCarron's just fought to make himself a free agent, so he's not going to be there. He obviously hates the team. They should move on from Andy Dalton, I think, because he is like, he's the best of the worst quarterbacks, but I don't think he's good enough to get you to win.
He's not going to win, is he?
But they're going to stick with him. I agree with Jenno, and then yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to Cleveland then. One of the teams that you thought AJ McCarron could end up at. So you've got Darnold and AJ McCarron as your two for Cleveland. Why is that?
Because I think the GM's going to go with Darnold, because I think they're going to see Darnold as the best player in the draft. I think they're going to like the way he's running ability, and they're going to focus a little bit more on his 2016 tape rather than 2017 tape. And then I think they signed AJ McCarron because Hugh Jackson likes him, and it's just an appeasement move before they fire Hugh Jackson at the end of the season anyway, because he's garbage.
Yeah, they tried to get AJ McCarron a few weeks ago, and the trade fell through at the deadline for whatever reason. It's probably part of the reason why they haven't got a GM. Well, the GM changed. They've moved on. I agree, by the way. I think Sam Darnold's the best quarterback in the draft, so I would be amazed. There's talk that Cleveland, you know, they might go after a free agent and then not draft a quarterback, but I think it's been far too long since they've had anyone. You've got to pick one. They passed on Carson Wentz when they had the chance to sign Carson Wentz. They passed last year. They could have had, say, a Deshaun Watson, and they decided not to do that. You can't pass again on a quarterback. You've got to go and take on that number one. And I agree, Darnold's the best. On McCarron, I wouldn't be surprised, because I think they need... If they don't want to start Darnold day one, I think he's probably ready, but they might not want to. You need someone. It appears they don't like Deshaun KIZER very much. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got McCarron. It's whether he would go. I think he wants to be a starter somewhere. I think he's got ideas of grandeur that are a little bit above his head, because I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is. Maybe. He's
a 5 touchdown to 1 interception on his 4 games so far, or something like that, isn't it?
He was a 5th round pick who couldn't beat Andy Dalton out.
Yeah.
Someone somewhere thought Andy Dalton was better than him.
Yeah, but in fairness, for reasons that you've just mentioned.
Which is true, but then Hugh Jackson was part of the staff at the Bengals at the time when they stuck with Dalton. He obviously likes him a little bit. I never understood the McCarron fuss in the first place. I don't think he's that good. I think he's a good regular backup. He wasn't great in those playoff games. When Dalton broke his hand, I think I'm right in saying, McCarron come in, and I don't think he was that good.
There was actually, I think there was a drop-off between what Dalton was giving him and what McCarron was doing. Dalton was actually having a really good year. So I think McCarron people like, the backup's always the favourite quarterback, because he's not the quarterback and don't know what he is. I don't think anyone else is going to be in love with McCarron when they watch the tape properly. It
smacks of Michael Lennon last year when, you know, they got him in and he lasted a couple of weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if they do bring someone in to give Sam Darnold a bit more time, because there's a few things he definitely has to work on. You know, mainly he needs to speed his action up a little bit, but I don't get the McCarron loving. There's a lot of talk that McCarron's going to get big money, and I would be very surprised. I don't think he's that good. Okay,
well, we'll move on to the FC West then. Kansas City, I think it's a solid choice. Patrick Mahomes is going to just be the starter. That's what he was signed for anyway. You know, they've had a year now. He's moved on the other quarterback, and Mahomes is just going to step into that and take over. LA Chargers, you've gone Phil Rivers. Oakland, Derek Carr. And an interesting shout, so I'll let you say this one, for Denver Broncos.
I think that's where Kirk Cousins goes. I think when you're looking at where the possibilities of Kirk Cousins will come on to the teams people are talking about later, like the Vikings and that, I think they're going to have other plans. I think the teams that can pay more than money in terms of the Browns, I don't think he's going to go there, because I think he's going to want to go to what he sees as a contender. We're only 2 years removed from Denver's Super Bowl, and I just think John Elway's going to be able to convince Kirk Cousins, look what we did with Peyton Manning. The defense is still quite good, it's just the offense is letting us down. The minute that the offense starts producing, our defense will get back to being as good as it is, because that's when we can start sending the pass rushes out and people can't just run the ball on us. And you know, I just think that's the most exciting option. If I was Kirk Cousins, I think they can pay him the most, and in terms of that's just the one that makes just the most sense to me.
Has Elway made a couple too many mistakes since their Super Bowl state to be able to have that trust from Kirk Cousins, or do you think he will put his trust in him? Because he's made mistakes.
Other than getting Peyton Manning, he hasn't been that good, but getting Peyton Manning helped. You know, and he built, I say, good on the offensive side of the ball. You know, his quarterback decisions haven't been great. He's the one who traded up for Paxton Lynch, who looks like he's not even a factor anymore. You know, Trevor SIEMIAN was playing ahead of him. Trevor SIEMIAN wasn't that good. He wanted to give Brock Osweiler a lot of money. Houston just gave him a little bit more, because they would have been stuck with the Brock Osweiler contract like Houston were landed with for a while. So I agree, he hasn't been that impressive in terms of quarterbacks. Whether they've got the money, you know, they've got a lot of high-paid players there. They might have to move a few on to make some room for Cousins. You know, Aqib Talib, for example, might have to go.
There's talk about Sanders as well, isn't there?
They would have to do something to wriggle the space, but you don't win without a quarterback, so you can see why you do it. It does make sense for me if they you know, Von Miller's been out on TV and on Twitter saying, you know, I want us to sign Kirk Cousins. He's been very vocal, so if they don't, you know, Paxton Lynch has got to go back into that dressing room. These like didn't even want me. It would very much make sense for Cousins to take. What's his priority? Does he want to make loads of money, or does he want to win? Because if he wants to make the most money, the Jets might pay him more, the Browns might pay him more.
The Jets have got some cap room as well.
The Jaguars maybe could pay a little bit more.
Why would you?
I think
you have.
I did look into
this. You've got a legitimate
got
chance there to get a Super Bowl. You do have a legitimate chance.
I think there's 3 places where he could go to win a Super Bowl. But we're presuming Drew Brees, who's a free agent, is going to stay in New Orleans. We'll get to that later. Yeah. He could go to Jacksonville and win a Super Bowl. He could go to Denver and potentially win a Super Bowl. And he could go to Minnesota and win a Super Bowl. Everyone else who's looking for a quarterback, for me, they're not ready yet. You know, they're not. So if that's his aim to win in the next couple of years, which it probably should be, then they're the 3 places. If I was doing this list, I'll be honest, I think he's going to end up in Jacksonville. And the person who you've got in Jacksonville, we'll talk on later, I think he'll end up in Denver. Look, Case Keenum that you've got there, we'll come to that in a bit. Yeah. But it definitely makes sense. I can't see Elway drafting another quarterback because he hasn't done particularly well at it. I think he'll go free agent again.
Just on the free agent bit money, I actually did look into this, and Denver had more cap space than Jacksonville, and that was one of the deciding factors for me, that Denver had the most more cap space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. Well done. Good research, you know. So we'll move into the AFC South then, who you've got Jacksonville Jaguars with Case Keenum and Blake Bortles. I'll take this one to begin with. I know that Minnesota loves Sam Bradford. I also know that they do love Case Keenum. I think we might transition tag him rather than franchise tag. Obviously, it's a little bit cheaper, isn't it? It's about $5 million less a year that we take. Gives us the option of trading them away for, I think it's 2 first-round picks, is it, on a transition tag? I can't remember.
Well, on a transition, someone else can match your bid and then they can take him as well.
But we get picks out of it, and we've only got 5 picks in the draft this year. So I think that's something that Minnesota would look to do. We were blessed with the best quarterback trio last season, and now we're in probably one of the hardest positions, aren't we? So I just can't see that we've got a window because of the defense. Putting your trust in Sam Bradford, who hasn't played a complete season since I think 2012, seems a bit mental, even though he's probably the most accurate of our 3 quarterbacks. Obviously, Pat Sherman loved him, but he's moved on now. Filippo, who's come from the Philadelphia Eagles, the quarterbacks coach there, he comes from that philosophy whereby you make a game plan around your quarterback and you don't shoehorn them in. So I think he could work with any of the 3 of them. I think the soundest decision is to take the one that, all right, he had a standout career late on in his career, you know, 29, 30 years old, Case Keenum. But I think he can make it that work. And I think that's the safest option, because you don't know what Teddy Bridgewater's going to be like after that ACL. You've got no idea. Sam Bradford, you know, is injury prone. If you've got a short window, you take the option it's probably the safest.
And to be fair, Jacksonville might be saying the same thing, I think, because for me, as much as they're going, I think they will keep Blake Bortles. I think they have to. He's injured at the moment, and they're going to have to pay him the way the contract works. Because if he is not fit by May, they have to keep him and pay him 19 million quid, and that's when you think that they're probably not going to. Are they going to be able to do enough, you know, swapping and changing to get a free agent? They're going to have to. I think they're too low down in the draft to take someone unless they do some big trading up. It might be that they end up just stuck with Bortles in like a bit of purgatory again. But I do think they're going to go for. I do think they're going to go after the free agent. I wouldn't be surprised if they got KEENUM or actually I think Cousins. It's just where it all comes down to Minnesota. Minnesota have got a choice of 3. who are they going to choose and who are they going to get rid of.
So why did you reason Case Keenum to Jacksonville?
Well, that's what I was, again, to do this, I was trying to, the thing that I found difficult was trying to choose who's a Minnesota take, what does Minnesota do? And just everything I've heard, even when Keenum was playing really well, the rumours were, if he has one bad game, Sam Bradford's going in there. He seems to be on a very short leash, and I think they're going to think, they've got them both in-house, and I think they think Bradford's the better quarterback. So I just think they're going to have to release Keenum, and they'll keep Bridgewater, because I don't think anyone else is willing to take Bridgewater. So I just think Keenum seems to be the odd one out, because I can't see them keeping all three, because there's just going to be too much money that they all want. The financially doesn't make sense. So something's got to give. I think it's Keenum, and then I think Keenum's going to look at the best options to again. Where can he go and compete to be a starter? You can get him into Jacksonville. That's a competition job. You don't have to pay him mega money, but he can earn good money. And then that gives him, that's, you know...
He's better than Blake Bortles. I'd have him over Blake Bortles.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd have everyone over Blake Bortles.
Yeah, we're not Blake's biggest fans, are we? So I wouldn't be surprised if he brings someone in this conversation at least, for sure.
Okay. Tennessee, you've got keeping Marcus Mariota. Indianapolis, you've got Luke and Brissett. Houston, Deshaun Watson. Okay, Indianapolis, let's go. This could be an interesting one, Steve.
Yeah.
On my notes down here, I've got, should they take a trade or trade down in the draft, or do you think they need to address the defensive line? Offensive line.
They won't both. I think they will trade if they get offered one. There'll be people wanting that number 3 pick. There's some very, very good non-quarterback players in the draft, and as we go through we'll get to those. There's a running back, Barkley, who's great. They've got offensive linemen. There's a very good pass rusher in Chubb. Minka Fitzpatrick's great, so they could stick. If I'm them, first of all, you can't let Brissett go anywhere, because you just do not know where Andrew Luck is. What's the point of letting Brissett go? You might get a good pick for him. Cause I think Brissett's good enough to start from the limited snaps I've seen from him, the limited games. But right now, if you're in Indianapolis, that's too big a risk. Andrew Luck's shoulder, when he's flying around Germany looking for a cure, you know something's, you can't bank on that whatsoever. So he's got to stay. It's whether, what's the offer that you take for Brissett? If someone offers you the first, do you think, you know what, do we fancy it? I think it would be foolish to do so with Andrew Luck's health problems. And in terms of the draft, they have to just, no matter what they do this summer, there's a reason why Andrew Luck's injured all the time. He's been getting his head kicked in. And they have gone some way to address the offensive line. They've made a few good picks and they've solidified some of it. There's a bit more work to do. And whether it's free agency or the draft later on, they're going to have to do something, because they can't let him. He's their franchise player. He's a top 5 QB when he's healthy. They just need to keep him healthy. Okay,
we'll move on to the AFC East then. No movement in New England, unsurprisingly. But you got some interesting picks for Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, so I've went that Buffalo Bills take Josh Allen, and now to make sense of this, it's that the Jets take Mayfield first, and then the Bills with their 2 first-round picks, I think they'll trade up above the Cardinals to take Allen, because we know the Bills don't rate Tyrod Taylor, so I think they're going to...
They hate Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, they're going to boot him out the door. I think, you know, Peterman, we all seen what happened when he played, so I don't think they're sold on him. So I think they take... Allen's got a lot of raw ability. I think they're going to take him, and I think they're going to take... Mike Glennon's going to get released by the Bears. I think it just makes sense to take him as just a little bit of a bridge quarterback for the first few games, and then you stick Allen in and see what he can do. Yeah,
Josh Allen, he's so raw, but he's got the physical too.
Is he the 6'5", big arm?
He is. Yeah. He's massive. He can sling it. His arm is like... He'd walk into the NFL and have one of the biggest arms in the league. It's like Matt Stafford, that type of absolute cannon, which is good in Buffalo. You can't get away with having no arm in Buffalo. It's one of the reasons because of the weather and stuff. But I agree, he's got a lot of work to do, so it would make sense for them to bring a veteran who might be able to start the first X amount of games.
Do you think Glennon would be happy with that relationship for the second year running?
He's got no choice, he can't. He just needs money now, doesn't he? He got paid, just keep earning backup money, Mike Glennon. If there's a fine, you'll make yourself a millionaire just by being a backup around the league. That's not there's worse jobs. And listen, Case Keenum was a backup and you've seen what he done, so you never know how things work. Josh Allen's really, really raw. I think of him, he's got a really, really low floor in that it could go absolutely terribly wrong, but he's got such a high ceiling. His ceiling is like Matt Stafford, which is Matt Stafford's a really, really good quarterback. He could be that good. He's a bit more mobile as well than Matt Stafford is, so I think he could be anything. But like I say, there's a big discrepancy. I agree. I think if they do it, they've got the 21st and 22nd pick, haven't they? So they could easily trade those two to get into the top 10.
I think it wouldn't. I don't think they need to do that. I think if they trade, I think it was with the Packers. It would just before the Cardinals.
Yeah, for sure. Green Bay would take that deal all day.
Green Bay don't return back 4 picks, so it's not going to cost you much. It's going to cost you a middle round pick. I just think it makes sense.
So if they have to trade up, they've got the ammo to do it because they traded their first away last year. So they're definitely good enough.
Okay, and Miami, Jenno, why do you think Tannehill will be there?
I just think, see, because they had such a bad season last season with the combination of CUTLER and Matt Moore, they're going to think that Tannehill's the answer because they had the better season last season. Ignoring the fact in the AFC you can kind of get into the back end of the playoffs quite easily, and it's not because it's a very top-heavy division. Tannehill's actually not good enough, but I think they're going to buy into the fact that we were better under Tannehill than we were Jay Cutler, and end up basically missing out on what they should do, which is get rid of Tannehill because he's not very good.
Do you like Tannehill?
Yeah, I suppose. I think he's all right.
I think he's quite good. He's always hurt. That's his issue. He's injured a lot. Well, last year especially, he was really injured. I wouldn't be surprised if they are in the mix for drafting someone first round as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. But the Tannehill thing, it's a bit anti-Dalton-ish. It's like, is he really good enough or is he on that bubble? I actually think he's better than Dalton. I think he's at that scale.
I massively disagree. Yeah. I think he's a lot worse. I think people keep to forget that quite often in Tannehill's career already, they've been talking about benching him for Matt Moore.
That's true.
During the season, and then he'd have like a better back half of the season where people go, oh no, see, he's not that bad, but I think he's much worse.
I wonder if Adam Gase took that job for a reason. Yeah. I wonder if it was because he thought he could do something with Tannehill, and he hasn't really had the opportunity to do so, obviously injuries and stuff, whether they fancy giving it one more shot. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if, you know, Miami take a Baker Mayfield or take a Josh Allen or take someone in the first round and just decide to move on from him.
Okay, well we'll talk Baker Mayfield now. Actually, we're going to the New York Jets. You've got Josh McCown and Baker Mayfield down now. Explain how you get into Baker Mayfield to end up with the Jets again.
I think the Jets, Baker Mayfield will be the third quarterback off the board. I think it's because the Jets like the splashy play. They like to win free agency. They like to get the news headlines. I think that's a very Woody thingy move. Woody, what's his last name? Johnson. Woody Johnson moved to just make the biggest noise possible. I think Baker Mayfield's in-your-face style, like the way he is with the media, I think they'll think that'll work in New York, whether it will or whether it not. I think he's like the biggest boom or bust player, so it's just got Jets written all over it. And then obviously McCown's the consummate professional. He had a really good season last season, so I think they'll believe that pairing them up, you can kind of get Mayfield's good qualities, but then teach him how to be a quarterback in the league and how to deal with the press. And so I just think that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, and listen, Baker Mayfield might be one of those guys who has 14 different teams in 16 years or whatever, just like McCown. So perfect veteran move for putting him with McCown.
Baker Mayfield is so hard to analyse because there's some things he does really, really poorly, but then he just wins all the time. Like I say, he's got the it factor where he's a winner. You know, he's got.
Is he the Heisman Trophy winner, Baker Mayfield?
A couple of years ago, he's very cocky. You know, literally waving his cock at the other team at one stage throughout his career. He's got something about him. I don't know. The issue with him, you know, is he too short? Well, I think that's overplayed. You know, two of the best quarterbacks in the league, Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. Like I say, if you can play, you can play. I think he's going to. I think there's a very good chance he ends up in the Jets as well, and it is a very Jetsy move. And he's similar to Josh Allen. The floor is really, really low. It bottoms out where he's like a dickhead.
I think he's potential to be Johnny Manziel. He could be Johnny Manziel too. I think he's a little bit better than Manziel.
He's a better quarterback, but
I would not actually.
Has he got a criminal record?
No, he's not that.
So he could end up in the XFL.
if he flops in a couple of years' time.
Everyone hates me on the back.
Yeah, Vince will have him, but I don't know. I've got a feeling on Mayfield, he'll do well wherever he goes. He's got a bit of Deshaun Watson about him in that. If you watch, like, you study a quarterback, looking at the fundamentals and you look at everything, you can pick holes in him. But then ultimately, he just wins lots of football games, and that's why last year when we done our draft preview stuff, or Ste Jenno wasn't here then, I discounted winning enough in college. In that I thought Deshaun Watson, he's not very accurate, he doesn't do a lot. He's just a baller. And he showed that when he was playing. I think Baker Mayfield's got a bit of that about him as well.
Okay, we'll go on to the NFC North then. You've got Sam Bradford. We've spoken about this one already, Jenno. So we'll talk Ste. Who do you think's going to end up as the quarterback of Minnesota?
Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, I think Case Keenum's going to go. I think he's going to for 1 year. I think that will put people off. You know, it smacks a bit Ryan Fitzpatrick-y, you know, where you have one great year with everything around you working well. And I think Minnesota will make a smart decision. They obviously love Teddy Bridgewater. The fact he's still there after what happened, you know, he's a first-round quarterback. You've got to remember that.
Wasn't he fourth round?
Teddy Bridgewater was
first round,
he was the bottom. He was the last pick of the thing.
Apologies.
Yeah, 32nd overall. Huge. Obviously the knee injury and stuff. I think they'll give him another shot. I think they'll stick with him. I think they would like Sam Bradford to stay, but you just cannot rely on him at all. He just doesn't stay healthy. I know it sounds contradictory because Bridgewater had an horrendous injury, but his injury record pre that wasn't that bad. It was just an absolute freak of an injury. Bradford's always injured. Since the day he walked into the league,
you're exactly right. The difficulty, and I'm not going to disagree with it, but the difficulty with Bridgewater is it's in there. Those type of injuries, if you're in the pocket and you've got bodies flying around you, how does that mentally affect you? And that's why I think that transition type could be a good move for Minnesota, because I think you need to be able to get to a point where OTAs have started and you've got Bridgewater +1, and you can make a decision based on actually seeing them. You know, if you can get to 3 pre-season games and Bridgewater's played 3, and you can you make a move then? I'm not 100% sure, but you'd want to think that it's boom or bust for Minnesota, really. The decision that they make here is going to define the next 3 years.
You know what they should do? What they should do is get Kirk Cousins. That's what they should do. It's what they should do. I don't know if the money works, I don't know, but they should get Kirk Cousins. He's better than all 3 of those. And you're a Super Bowl team. You know, you were 1 game away from being in the Super Bowl, so you're definitely a Super Bowl team. Kirk Cousins, you could easily persuade him to go there. You know, come play in the dome, Kirk, where you know, with this defense, look at Thielen, look at Rudolph, let's say Diggs, Thielen, Rudolph. You've got a decent offensive line. Dalvin Cook's going to be your running back next year. This is set up for you, mate. Take a little bit less than the $30-odd million you want, and come and win a title.
You've been overpaid for the last 2 years because of the franchise.
Well, how much more money do you need, Kirk? You know, you're still going to get good money. 28, 29, whatever. Come and play for us. I think that's what they should do. I just don't know if they will.
Yeah, I actually agree. Like, if I was Kirk Cousins, if I was the Vikings, I think that makes natural fit. I just don't think that's what they're going to do. I think they might have a flirtation with FOLES, with John D. Filippo, but I don't think they're going to be willing to pay what it's going to take to get FOLES out of Philly. I don't think anyone's going to be willing to pay that. No.
Yeah. Okay, Detroit, you've got Matt Stafford. Green Bay, unfortunately, they've still got Aaron Rodgers. Although I'd like them to do some kind of mad trade with Chicago for Mitchell Trubisky. That's not going to happen, no matter how often I dream and pray for it. NFC West, Jared Goff is going to stay with the Rams. Russell Wilson is going to stay with the Seahawks. And Arizona's an interesting one. You've got it down as Tyrod Taylor and Lamar Jackson. Do you know why? Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a really well formulated argument. I can see exactly why you think that's going to be the case.
The last person out of the top 5 quarterbacks is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has got a very similar style to Michael Vick from Everton and Reed. So why wouldn't you not pair him with Tyrod Taylor, another guy who runs around a lot, who's perfect veteran to start now, while you teach Jackson the fundamentals of playing in the league? He's going to learn from a guy who has a similar playing style. And then coupled with that, the head coach, I don't know why I couldn't think of that then, came from Carolina's defensive coach. So he's going to be used to playing with a great defense, which I actually think Cardinals have, and then just having a QB who can just make a few plays here and there. So I think they'll trust in the fact that QB, play it safe, don't give the ball away, don't give the game away. Our defense will win the game. And I think that's what Tyrod Taylor kind of can give you. And then obviously you go for what's going to be the upgrade and Lamar Jackson to then take over later on.
Who's the OC there now?
I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest.
Okay. I'll look that one up while we carry on.
I know the head coaches.
I get the reasoning behind Lamar Jackson and Tyrod Taylor, but that's basing it off, that's the offensive game plan. Do you know what I mean? And that comes down to who the offensive coordinator is. I understand you're using the defensive head coach.
I think defensive head coaches tend to like running quarterbacks because they find them really difficult to scheme against. So Rex Ryan, for example, loved Tyrod Taylor because he found it really difficult to play against them. Again, with Lamar Jackson, he could be anything. Yeah. He could be the new Manziel, but he could also be Mike Vick, but better because he can throw better than Mike Vick in terms of Mike Vick had a cannon, but his short game wasn't particularly good. Jackson is good at that. I agree, he's raw, and he probably could do a veteran to sit behind. And Tyrod Taylor, although I'm not his biggest fan, what you said was right, is that he doesn't turn the ball over. He is very safe. So if you're a defensive-minded head coach, which now they've got in Wilkes, they've probably said, if we can get our defence to what it should be or what it could be, with the, they've got a good, decent enough pass rush, they've got a very good secondary, got some, Patrick Peterson and the Honey Badger are just absolutely fantastic. Like I say, just keep the ball, keep the games close. Taylor doesn't throw it away to the other team, and then we'll win it with defence. It does make sense. Okay,
so on here it's saying that Mike McCoy is.
Mike McCoy is McCoy.
He's going to be the offensive coordinator. That was a week or so ago. So he's got links to Carolina Panthers, hasn't he? From before Denver, I think it was. So obviously they might have worked together there.
Yeah, I think ultimately.
He had Peyton, didn't he, at Denver, McCoy?
Yeah, he had a bit of Phil Rivers in his life as well, so he's had the pocket pass. He's had everything, to be fair.
But I don't think there's another pocket passer. I think the Cardinals, so I've got the Cardinals, they might take Jackson in the first round, they might wait till the second round, because he's going to be there regardless, because all the quarterbacks, the big name ones, are gone.
No, I disagree. I think if they don't take him in the first round, I don't think they'd get him in the second. I think Jacksonville would bite their hand off. If Lamar Jackson fell to Jacksonville, I think they'd do it.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if any of those five are at when Jacksonville pick, I think they will run the card in, because they've seen the Blake Bortles life on it. It's the Blake Bortles life. And I think with Arizona in that division, that you need to get this right, because the other three teams have got their quarterbacks. Yeah. Goff, we don't know what Goff is, but he's played well in that system. We know what Russell Wilson is, and we all know how high I think of Jimmy Garoppolo. So they need to get it right, and I agree. I think it would make sense for them to draft someone and go veteran. What I would say is if Bruce Arians was still there, they'd have traded the world for Josh Allen. Bruce Arians would have traded the world to get Josh Allen, because he is his quarterback dream.
We'll move on from the NFC West. The last one is San Francisco. We all think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be there, of course.
NFC South. He's a very, very rich man.
NFC South. Mad that we're talking about this, but Drew Brees. But reasoning for this, Jenno, is pretty obvious. He's Drew Brees and it's New Orleans. Do you think he's going to have to take a Tom Brady style cut?
I don't know how they're going to do it, because I think it's going to be the length of the contract. That's going to be the issue. What they may have to do is give him a longer contract, but then front end all the money, so that way they can get rid of him if he bottoms out after he turns 40 or whatever, because he is getting up there. But I just can't see. He may even have to sit out training camp, or may have to be a bit of a nuisance. But I just can't see any way New Orleans let him go. I think they end up caving and give him what he wants.
He said he wants to go back there. Having said that, he's the one who negotiated that he couldn't be franchise tagged in his contract. So ultimately, it isn't up to New Orleans. It's up to New Orleans to get Drew Brees to put pen to paper. I think they're going to have to pay him a lot. But
the talks are that he wants about 30.
Give him it. He's worth it.
And again, the talk is that New Orleans want to give him 25. And he's got
shake hands on 27 and a half.
I just don't see what's the difference for Brees, really.
Yeah.
And at his age, give yourself a chance to win another ring, and you've got that chance there. You've got the running game. You've got a defense led by Marshawn Lattimore.
How long would you give him though, in terms of that? I think that's the sticking point, is like what Jenno says. I don't think the money's an issue, because you pay Drew Brees what he needs, give or take a little bit, because he's Drew fucking Brees, but. How long do you give him? Not everyone's Tom Brady. A lot of quarterbacks are Peyton Manning, where they just bottom off. A lot of them are Brett Favre, where they just
I'd say 3, and I think he's 38 now, so he's probably 39 by the time.
So he's talking, give him his contract at least 40.
But think about the team that they're building there. We saw last season, you saved Drew Brees' arm how many times compared to the year before. They've got that running game, and if they can keep that together, then Drew Brees is probably one of the smartest quarterbacks. Just like Peyton Manning was able to win with no arm, Drew Brees will be able to do that, I think, for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think no more than 3 is the absolute maximum, but I think he'll stay ultimately. I agree.
Okay, so we've got Carolina, Cam Newton, no problems there. Atlanta will stick with Matt Ryan. Tampa Bay, Buccaneers, Jameis Winston, NFC East. Philadelphia. I can't believe we're talking about this, but you kind of have to talk about this, Jenno. Yeah. You've got them sticking with the 2 quarterbacks that won them the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, what a crazy idea. I think Obviously, I think people are going to have a little look at FOLES and they're going to think, what can we do with this veteran? Clearly, I mean, he was incredible in the Super Bowl, he was incredible in the playoffs. So they're going to think, well, maybe we can get that from him. But I think with Wentz being injured, Wentz may not be back to the start of the season. He may miss a couple of games. So I just think no one's going to be willing to pay the price to get FOLES out of there. So Philly's going to be in a position where they're going to keep him unless someone gives them something crazy. And I don't see the desperation from any other team.
Yeah, I think we might end up with a Garoppolo situation where he gets traded in like November. Once we know Carson Wentz is 100%, because why risk it? If Carson Wentz isn't ready to go until week 4, then don't play him until week 4. I mean, what's the point? Ultimately, there's just no... He's your quarterback for the next decade. Don't rush him back. So, and you know you've got a capable backup in Nick Foles. Now, by all reports are that they like Suffield, who's the third choice behind him. But I just don't think you can sell to your fan base that, you know...
No, we're getting rid of it. Super Bowl MVP.
Just in case. Ultimately, there will be a price. You know, if someone's willing to pay it, I can't see anyone willing to pay, you know, multiple picks for Nick Foles.
If you're throwing even a first round at Nick Foles, I think you're making a massive mistake.
Yeah, so do I think if someone offers them a first, they probably should take it. But I just don't think that offer's going to come.
Dallas will stick with Dak Prescott, according to that man over there. Washington obviously got Alex Smith.
Can I speak about that? That was that's a mad one, that. They've given a lot of money to Alex Smith.
They've got slightly older, but they've saved about $5 million a year, is it something like that?
You say they have, but you know, they've offered that contract to Kirk Cousins 2 years ago, they signed that.
Yeah.
So they haven't saved anything because they've just paid Kirk Cousins 2 years of franchise tag money, actual cash, and now they're doing this deal to get older and probably a little bit worse. Kirk Cousins to Smith, they're pretty similar, but Smith is the definition of average. He's like, through the line, he's 16th and above, or maybe he's around that area. He's maybe a little bit better.
He's somewhere 10 to 15.
Yeah, which is fine. But so is Kirk Cousins.
I think people ignore the fact that Kirk Cousins over the last 2 years have been like a top 5. He's actually been that good. I would say Kirk Cousins is better than Alex Smith. I think it's poor from Washington. They give away a very good secondary player.
Yeah,
and
that's the other key part.
I don't know, man. I get why they've done it. They have to do something, and they didn't want to leave themselves short of a quarterback. But are they better than they were before they did this?
Do you think they've just moved too soon?
No, I think they've just...
Because anything could happen. But I think sometimes you've got to make a decision, though. Yeah, you either wait and you could bust out, or you make your play early.
I think they looked at it and went, they're too low down in the draft to get one of the big name quarterbacks they want. Free agency, I think they pretty much knew Kirk Cousins wasn't going to sign. I think he's sick of them. He's had enough because they wouldn't give him the contract he wants. So I think they kind of knew they needed to do something, and then just went with Alex Smith, who they know, he's got the Chiefs to the playoffs pretty much every year. He's a good player.
He's good. He's fine. He's average. I don't know. I just think to give up what he gave up for him and to pay that much money, obviously you'd imagine the contract he can get out of it at some stage. Are they better now than when they made that trade?
It's
quarterback wise, it's a wash, and they've lost a good secondary player. So I don't know. I think it's a
point. Okay, final one then. New York Giants. Jenno, you got Eli Manning and Josh Rosen, who I suppose is one of the most well-rounded quarterbacks in this draft class. Yeah,
I think that you just can't be negligent. Even if you believe in Eli Manning, Josh Rosen's there. You got the second overall pick. You take him. You take him, even if you let him sit for a couple of years, then let him sit for a couple of years while you still believe in Manning, which I don't. I think Manning's arm's gone. I don't think he's the kind of quarterback who lives a lifestyle like a Tom Brady and Rodgers, to have that dedication to have the long, elongated career. I just think you take him with the second overall pick. He's there. I think the Giants are a very well-run organisation, and I can't see them not doing that.
It reminds me of a little bit of when Peyton and Andrew Luck, that situation. Obviously, Andrew Luck's a far better prospect than Josh Allen. Andrew Luck's the best quarterback prospect to come out probably since Manning. But you're very, you don't want to be, you're not going to be that high up in the draft often. Or you wouldn't want to be that high up in the draft often. So what you do you take maybe a Saquon Barkley and have one final run with Eli, and then see what happens in the future, or do you protect yourself and go, actually, we can get our franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, hopefully, if Josh Rosen works out. And also, the knock on Josh Rosen, a little bit injury prone, he's had the concussion and stuff, but also, he's a bit of a dickhead. Who better to learn from how to be a model professional? As much as we knock Eli Manning for some of the things he does, he is an absolute consummate professional. He does everything you need to do in terms of how he talks in the media. He's very dull and boring, but that's what you need to be. The way he took getting benched was unbelievable, because a lesser man like me, would have chinned Ben McAdoo for benching me for Geno friggin'
I'd
Smith.
wait till he fell asleep and just started shaving his hair and mustache.
You'd have been doing him a favour with that terrible haircut. But I think for Josh Rosen, if he needs to grow up, and that's the, you know, the knock on him is that, you know, he's a bit spoiled, he's come from wealth, which, you know, shouldn't be a knock on him, but maybe he is a little bit entitled. He's a very good player. He's the most ready to play now. He could step in day one and play, go and learn behind Eli, and ultimately have a competition and see if he can beat him. Yeah. So I think the Giants should do that. I just don't know if they will. I think they might just look at it and go, actually, we love Eli, let's get him the star running back, and let's have one more.
What are you talking for a rookie contract?
7 million,
quarterback, 7 million for what, 5 years? Something like that. You know Eli's not going to be there in 2, I'd say, guaranteed. I'd say take the hit for a couple of years. It's not a problem.
I would 100%
I think that's the smart move there, like,
and
absolutely.
100% I'd do it. And like I say, if it gets to, you get to the start of the season and you're in a little bit of a Carson Wentz, Sam Bradford situation where actually you've seen this lad play and he's better, you can trade Eli. You know, the Sam Bradford got traded to your team very late on. Obviously injuries happen. Something could happen to a quarterback around the league. Actually, we think Josh Rosen's actually better than Eli. Yeah, Tom Coughlin, do you fancy Eli Manning for a year? You know, like,
with that Jags
we all know, like, that's no, you don't want to say, but one quarterback before the end of the season, that's going to be a star quarter. Before the season starts, going to get injured, not going to be able to play. And that's where you can go. That's where you got the trade bait of Manning.
I think they should do it. Whether I've just got a sneaky feeling they might take Barkley.
Okay, well there you go. Leave us your quarterback predictions in the comments section below. Don't forget to like the video, of course. And if you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel on YouTube. From me, from Steve, from Jenno, thanks very much, and we'll see you in a week's time.